I'm Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Today, I'm just basically gonna talk about how decluttering builds and how it turns into a lifestyle of decluttering. So I hear from people all the time who are where I was, like 14 years ago, which is there was stuff everywhere, nothing had a home. Decluttering made no sense to me because I was like, but I don't have a place for everything. So how could I put things away? Even if I did have got a place for everything, there would still be more stuff than there is places. Y'all, there's a lot, right? Like there's a lot. I've written books on the subject. There are so many videos here where I go into all these different aspects. The aspect that we're going to talk about today is how putting things in the place where you would look for it first is valid and is ultimately the thing that changes all of that, okay? So my first decluttering question is, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? Okay, I have other videos going into all the nuanced ways that you need to make sure you're asking it correctly and answering it correctly and all that. But the boiled down short version is, I go on the instinct of where I would look for it first, not knowing that it's gonna be there, okay? Because if I know where it's gonna be, that's not something I'm asking a decluttering question about. That's something that left earlier in my 5-step No Mess Decluttering process. But if I am asking that question, I use that as my way to determine where something needs to live in my home. It needs to live in the place where I, not my grandma, not my best friend, not my judgy aunt, whoever. I don't have any judgy aunts. So if you're watching this, Connie, Becky, any of y'all, I'm not talking about you, I promise, right? But I'm just saying, like, if you have somebody in your life who, judges you for how your house looks, and so then you feel insecure, it can be hard to say, I'm going to put things in the place where I would look for them first when you're like, but I'm not good at this stuff. That's how you become good at this stuff. That's how you change your home and get it to the point where things have a home and where you actually know where those things are and you can find and access things easily. There's more to it than that. There's the reality of the space. Is there room for it there? The decisions you have to, we're not going into all that today. The reason I thought about doing this video is sometimes I'll hear from people like, so should if I find something that I've looked for before and couldn't find, should I put it in the place where I looked for it? Absolutely. Okay, like that right there, that mindset shift of, oh, that's right. I was looking for this item. I searched desperately for it and I never found it, but I know where the first place was that I looked. And now that I've found it, I'm going to go take it there now, okay? And a lot of times that happens in the midst of living regular life, right? Like I'm not in this, I'm in decluttering mode. This is when I'm gonna use the question. No, I use the question all the time in everything. So if I'm just living my life and I run across something and I'm like, oh, that's where that was, I immediately, which I don't always want to do because a lot of times I'm working on something else, but I will ask myself the question, where did I look for this first when I was looking for it? And it is really hard to do, but I got to take it there now. Because if I take it there now, then I'm done with that item. And that item has a real home in the place where I know I would look for it first because I did look for it first there, okay? So that's how you achieve that lifestyle of decluttering. And that's how you shift from just these big project moments to making this an actual lifestyle. And this is how your home changes over time. From where mine was 14 years ago, where yours might be right now, where you're like, there's stuff everywhere. I don't know where anything is. I can never find anything. There's no room, but that's how we change it, okay? When you have times of focused decluttering, you take advantage of those times. You use the 5-step process so you never put yourself in a situation where you've pulled everything out of the space, you get overwhelmed, or life happens and you have to stop, and then you think, what was the point of that? and it discourages you from going in the future. Now, you use the no mess process, so you're always only making progress. But the more that you do that, the more that you start to trust that method, then in the midst of everyday life, when you run across something, you either, oh yeah, that's right, I looked for this in such and such place, I'm gonna take it there now, or you just start using that all the time. That's me. I use, where would I look for this first? All the time, because it helps my brain slow down enough to go, there's a real answer to this, instead of I'm going to shove it in a drawer somewhere where I'm never going to find it. Again, it just gives me that real, concrete, actual strategy for knowing where things should live in my house. And then I take it there now, because then it's done, but also then that way I have to face the reality of that space. Is there room for it there? Blah, blah, blah. I've talked about that in other videos, right? Okay, so a couple of examples here. So one example right here, you can see, are my red checkered tablecloths. Now, my mother had given these to me, and when she cleared out, they had a place at a lake, and they got rid of that place. So they had these red checkered tablecloths. Well, I love red checkered stuff. Blue, red checked, gingham, pink. It's all my favorite stuff, right? So she offered them to me. I said, absolutely, I want to take them. And I even had the little portable tables that, she had used them with, that I had brought home, with me. And so I brought those home, and then somehow they disappeared, right? Like, I didn't know what I had done with them, but I knew that I had gotten those. Okay, so when I was in a moment of actually going through a space, I went, oh, ran across these red checker tablecloths. I didn't even have to ask myself the question, where would I look for this first? Because I immediately knew where I did look for it first. Okay, and that just cuts off some of the decluttering time, some of the decluttering energy that I'm spending because of that. So another example, I'm old now and I have old lady teeth. And so I have my little, what's this called? I want to call it a mouth squeegee, and that is not what it is. See, I'm old. Water pick thing, okay? Very helpful. Holds a charge forever, but not actually forever. Like, it feels like it's forever. So when we had remodeled our house, our bathroom in here, I ended up somehow, the charge thing got separated. Well, I was still able to use it for like a very long time because the charge holds so long. Well, then it finally ran out of its charge, and I was like, oh, wait, where is that charging cord? And I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find it. And then I ran across it and immediately went, my first reaction, honestly, was, okay, where should I put it? And I went, no, I know where I should put it, because I know that I was looking for it, and all I have to do is put it in that place where I looked for it first. So I just took a moment. I said, where did I look for it first? I looked for it first in this cabinet under my sink. I actually looked there about 3 different times thinking, surely it's got to be there. Why would I not have put it there? Obviously, that's where it needs to be its home. That's the place that needs to be its home. I need to let the place where I would look for it first. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I need to let the place where I would look for it first be the place that is its home. And if it is something that I would legitimately go looking for, well, then it is something that deserves space in my home. So if I was to open up this cabinet and realize, oh, there's no room there, which there's actually plenty of room. But if I was to open up that cabinet and realize there was no space, I would have to decide, because I know for sure I need this. I need the water pick. I need the charging cord, even though I don't use it that often, but when I need it, I have to have it, right? It deserves space, and I would have to decide what deserves space less, and then get rid of that item in order for that to make space. I've talked about this idea of net gains decluttering, moving my whole house forward. If you are at a point where you feel like my whole house is a disaster, then this mindset shift and actual strategy and process for decluttering without making a bigger mess, putting things in the place where you would look for it first, putting it there immediately and embracing the reality of that space, that's how you really, really ultimately are going to change your home. It's what worked for me. So, and it's what worked for a whole lot of other people. All right, I hope this was helpful. I know it was a little blathery. Whatevs. I don't like saying whatevs, but I just said it. So whatever. All right. I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.